This episode of Shadiversity is brought to you by the Dragons shirt, which poses the most important reply to any statement or observation. What about dragons? This is my house. Ah, but what about dragons? Oh, so you want me to marry you? But what about dragons? Will you please pass the salt? But what about dragons? Dragons have feelings too, people. We cannot forget the dragons. Available on Teespring, link in the description.
Shadiversity.
Greetings, I'm Shad, and in this video we do get to address one of the more significant questions we can ever ask. What about dragons riders? Dragon riders. Okay, it's not exact, but still, what classic fantasy trope here, and so many fantasy use them. We love it. It's kind of the, one cool thing, another cool, well, it's funny, dragons are cool, humans, they can be pretty uncool, but pretty cool, but because we're humans, okay, we like cool things, and so, yeah, we like swords, but if there's a dragon, instead of fighting the dragon, let's try and tame it and ride the dragon. And if this classic fantasy trope really did exist in an authentic medieval setting, what historical medieval weapons would be the best pick for these, these warriors, the dragon riders? So let's get into it. First of all, it is a bit hard to try and pick the most iconic kind of weapon that is always ascribed to this fantasy trope. Like with all the other creatures, you will find several creatures that seem to have an iconic weapon that they always use. With dragon riders, not so much, but I do think the lance is a close pick, thanks to the book series Dragonlance, which, Dragonlance is actually the first novel I've ever read, Dragons of Autumn Twilight. And I don't think the Dragonlance actually appears in that book at all. It's in the later books the Dragonlance actually appears. And that's a great question. Is a lance an effective weapon for a dragon rider? Well, it depends. Like in all the videos that we've done on this subject, context. Legend says, if you say context 3 times in a row, a Matt Easton will appear to you talking about swords. Context. Context. No, we are dealing with some dark magic now, and we just need to back away. Back away. Back away. Back away. I can hear you. There's an issue with being on the back of a dragon, and it's that dragons are so big, and this is the other point of context. How big is the dragon? If the dragon's head, wingspan, and arms are so big that, a sword, you point it like you can't even strike past the size of your own beast to reach the enemy. The only point of contact is that the dragon kind of flies on the side upside down, and you get close vertically, or if you're hanging off the side, you could strike someone with a standard size melee weapon. So this is where the lance becomes an important feature, or even just a spear, because of its reach. You might actually be able to reach past the size of the dragon, because if the dragon is, say, a bit bigger than a horse, all right, or maybe small elephant kind of size, maybe then a lance is big enough to skewer other, dragon riders you're fighting. But when you're getting bigger than that, even a lance probably won't be able to reach your opponent. And that's only in regards to, say, other flying kind of opponents, because if you're facing people on the ground, well, then the whole dragon is in between you and, your weapon. And even a lance would be, unless it's a small dragon, so if it's a horse-sized dragon or something like that, then of course you might be able to get a lance poke, skewer thing in a swoop. But just like when we had a look at the best weapon for angels video, swooping puts you in danger, okay? And then there are other issues with using a lance separate to just putting yourself and your dragon in danger and in range of your enemies. The lance really is a single attack weapon, especially if it gets stuck in your target. You're not going to pull it out, so you have to let it go. And if you're sitting on top of the dragon and your lance point is stuck on something on the ground, as the dragon tries to rise up, the shaft of the lance will probably hit the side of the dragon's wing and other things like that if it isn't getting pulled out. It would be very hard to drop once you use it. And even if you don't use it on swooping attacks, if you just use it, say, fighting other dragon riders and stuff like that, getting the lance stuck in an opponent, if you don't let it go enough, you could very much get dismounted by that lance. And everything we've talked about here applies doubly as much if the lance is actually attached to the saddle that you're sitting on, which some fantasy artworks have shown. That is a
terrible idea for a dragon. So in actual fact, the lance is looking to be quite the ineffective weapon for a dragon rider. It's single use, it might not even reach past the size of the dragon depending on the size of the lance and the size of the dragon, and it increases the risks of getting dismounted. Now the next popular weapon that dragon riders use quite often are swords, and swords really in my opinion are quite ineffective to just useless for a dragon rider because of that size thing. How close does the dragon itself need to get to something to enable its rider to be able to slash at something? The dragon would have been able to slash with its claws, bite with its mouth, or use its fire breath far before getting the rider close enough to do anything, and it actually puts the dragon at far more risk. So swords as well, really dumb when you think about it. So when you see all these dragon riders in movies, video games, also artworks and stuff like that, and they see you got the dragon rider and they're using a sword or a lance, I don't think we've really thought about this properly because these are very ineffective weapons for a dragon rider. And these things that we've talked about is starting to raise a pretty significant question, and that is, are weapons even necessary or would they even be useful for a dragon rider? Because, well, the dragon is a weapon.
Well, in all honesty, I actually think you probably don't necessarily need a weapon because you got the dragon's fire breath, you got the dragon's claws, you got the dragon's snappy. But of course, the most effective weapon is the fire breathing thing, and depending on the range, the dragon can keep itself at a safe distance and just toast, roast people alive on the ground. The rider is just there along for the ride, not doing much apart from maybe directing the dragon where to go. But that does seem a little bit silly. I mean, apart from directing the dragon, you don't want the rider to just be sitting here flying around. Yeah, good job there, Draco. Yep, you burnt those peasants alive. Well, I guess they could be fighting peasants. Maybe evil knights. You burnt those evil knights alive. They become roasts cooked in tin foil in their armor. Yep. Draco, good job. Don't turn that fast, you're making me hurt. No, they're going to want to be doing at least something, and even if, it wouldn't be as effective as the incredible offensive ability of the dragons, there are still some things that they can do, in my opinion, that would be very effective. You see, when we're looking at angels, they were the flying creature, which put them at a bit of a disadvantage in regards to using certain ranged weapons, like bows. But dragon riders, no. And so remember that problem we were talking about in regards to weapons and their reach? Well, ranged weapons, their reach is much greater because they're ranged. Makes sense. Now, depending on the size of the beast again, size of the bow might be restricted because if you have, the dragon back right there, a big old longbow might be difficult because the bottom end of the bow could be hitting and the dragon wings might be coming up and flapping on either side. So a really powerful short bow might be a better pick. But who knows, if the dragon is massive and the wings are maybe in front or behind you and you're more sitting on the neck, maybe you could get away with a longbow. So a bow is very useful because you can direct your projectile, you can aim them. There is another type of kind of more projectile thingy that could be really useful with dragons, and it's the same weapon that we discussed on angels, and that is the flechette. The flechette actually wasn't developed in the medieval times. It was a weapon developed in World War I because we didn't have the technology of flight. But what it is basically a big metal spike with a crossback that you drop, and it lands on people with very nasty results. The advantage that a dragon offers over an angel is that a dragon seems to be able to carry much greater loads. So you could, have these big bags of flechettes on either side, and as soon as you get over enemies or bad guys or whatever and just drop, ooh, that's death. And the great thing about flechettes, they don't really have, their only limitation in terms of what range they can be dropped at is just how high the dragon can fly. Because it does seem like dragons would be able to fly to a certain height that their fire breath, napalm or whatever, would not be able to reach the ground, but a flechette in this case would. Problem is aiming. It can be very difficult trying to aim accurately from a very high position. So pinpoint targeting one person, very difficult. But if you're dropping it on a formation of soldiers, I think flechettes can be very useful. And if it's one person, the dragon just kind of swoop in and take out, whatever. But having said all this, I do think we are missing one of the key kind of features that would enable you to weaponize a dragon even more so with the use of having someone on its back. And the answer is, have more people on their back. We already talked about that dragons seem to be able to carry much greater loads than other, especially winged humanoids and stuff. So why is it that everyone only puts one rider on a dragon? put a whole platoon or whatever, however many you can fit, 6, 8 or whatever, and give them all short bows, powerful short bows or flechettes or whatever, and then you have a flying turret of death in the sky. Not only fire, but arrows raining out from it on all directions. Death in the sky times 8 or whatever, how many humans you have on it. So yes, indeed, in my opinion, the best weapon for a dragon rider is to have more dragon riders with them and arm them with flechettes, bows, maybe even spears, but you know, you'd run out of spears, but bows, lots of arrows and stuff like that. That would increase the range damage of a dragon even further because, arrows, they just need to drop. They'll reach the ground, where the fire breathing, maybe not. And it enables the dragon and the people on the back to attack in multiple directions at once, which is crazy. So there you go. These have been my thoughts on the best medieval weapons, even though flechettes are not really medieval weapons, but they can be made with medieval technology, so I include them. Best weapons for dragon riders. Thanks for watching, guys. I do hope you have enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Until then, farewell.